So what we are going to talk about today. We go to tech conferences around the world and we hear the stories about how technology is going to change our life. We go to the tech conference and hear about how new technologies can predict disease, how it can actually create the prediction technologies that we will live in a world with no crime. We go to conferences and we see autonomous machines changing our life. We have autonomous cars and robots all around. We go to the tech conference, we are inspired by this vision of the future. But then we go back home and we ask ourselves, do we really see in reality these technologies materialize? The answer most of the time would be that there's a huge gap between the technologies we see at conferences or the promise of technology and the way it materializes in our real life. Many technologies, inspiring as they are, that's, by the way, 300 years technology. We hear about technologies that are going to transform our life, but at the end of the day, it takes them much longer to actually change our reality. And we ask ourselves sometimes, why? Why we don't see the technology materializing as fast as we thought? And I want to suggest to you an answer that we do not have the infrastructure ready to actually embrace most of these technologies. It's great as a demo on stage to show you how you predict a disease or how you predict crime. It's great to show you with AR or with VR how education looks like. But do we have the infrastructure ready? Do we actually have the infrastructures in our own society now to incorporate all these technologies? And the answer would be that infrastructure, which is not only technologies, the law is not ready yet. Even the economic environment is not ready yet. We do not have the social arrangements that can incorporate all of these technologies. And one more thing, and I think the train demonstrated beautifully, we have what we call technology lockdown. Think about it. The train we've just seen now passing here, it's a 300 years technology. But you know why the white actually of the train is as is? Because the Romans, 2,000 years back, had their horses. And 2 horses' backs were actually 2.44 meters. That's the width of the train's line as we do now. So if you're trying to innovate now in automotives, in transportation, you need to take into account the measurements of the Romans' horses. That's a technology lockdown. When you look at the keyboard in your computer and you ask yourself, hey, who designed this bizarre keyboard? It's not the most native or kind of like natural human-machine interface. You realize that it was from the time of handwritten machines that you didn't want them to touch each other. Just like in the piano's keyboard. So they design it, that's not the right interface, but we're designing now for 70 years, almost 60 years, with this design. We are locked by the technology. We also, in any innovation we do assume the institutional and social arrangements around technology. We do think about technology as an evolution. We think that we grow our society. In evolutionary step, we adapt more and more technologies. So you come to a conference hearing about fintech. You hear about money could actually change the way that we interact with each other, but we are locked in social legal arrangements of the banking systems from Italy in the 17th century. We are locked to regulatory environment that assumes something which is very different than the potential of new technology. We do have this technology lockdown and also evolutionary mindset about technology. And another thing, that's about the arrangement of the way that we innovate. Think about it. When we go to innovation conferences, we listen to entrepreneurs who we admire, coming from the private sector. When we think about the government, we do think about bureaucrats that are slow, that are not adaptive. We just ask them, please, back off. Don't interfere with our innovation. So we let actually the private sector to lead all the innovation. However, the private sector is limited by the kind of innovation they can do. It's only incremental innovation, and they would never do large-scale projects that require you to do what we call natural monopoly, that you do invest in infrastructure that all would benefit from, not only this single company. So again and again, private companies are innovating only with the incentives they see in mind with a quarterly return. And we do understand that what is lacking is the public infrastructure, is the planning that would enable us actually to enjoy the kind of innovation we see at the conferences. If we really want to have the hospitals that would embrace digital health, we need to change the public health system to embrace this kind of medical records or to embrace this kind of innovation. If we want to enjoy technologies that can predict crime or can actually prevent wrongdoing, just as we do in the private sector, we need our police guards and enforcement capabilities to change. So actually, as Yoel is saying, we need politicians. But most of our politicians believe that they are not welcome in the innovation discussion. However, they do have an important role. The role of politicians or the role of the public sector is to set the infrastructure that will enable us to enjoy innovation. And that's the story we want to talk about today. What is the infrastructure we need to enjoy innovation? Because we do understand like artificial intelligence and autonomous technologies can change the way we live. But we do understand we need the public infrastructure to support it. So we start seeing around the world what we call mega projects or mega cities. There are 10 such projects around the world, from Latin America to Europe to actually the Middle East, trying to change the way we build our society to be able to incorporate and integrate innovation. These mega projects are trying to put the infrastructure that we need, the physical, the legal, the social infrastructure, the economic arrangement, which will enable us to enjoy innovation. What I want to do today is all along the conference to have one project in mind that I think can illuminate for us how we will design the society of the future. This project, actually exciting enough, is coming from Saudi Arabia. Have you heard the word NEOM? Surprising enough, most of us never heard about NEOM. For Israelis, it's shocking. It's 50 kilometers from Israel. When you actually see the pictures of NEOM, the city of the future, the nearest city to NEOM is Jerusalem. It sits on the Red Sea, and Saudi Arabians, we really understand that the economy of oil is about to end, and a new economy of imagination, of inspiration, is about to start. Took $500 million and investors from around the world and asked them how we would design from scratch the city of the future. This city is going to be 30 times bigger than Manhattan. It's the size of Massachusetts. And it's starting from the beginning with no citizens and no history. It will build a new legal system, new infrastructure, new citizenship to assume how we build actually the society of the future that can embrace innovation. In this story about NEOM, which is one of actually many arrangements, we see how we can build society from scratch. So innovation in the 21st century would not be dependent on the white of the lanes from the Romans' times. That many of these assumptions that we have, any investor in the room know that the first question you ask would be, go to market. What's your competition? What's your constraints? For the first time, society started to think, what if we didn't have constraints? What if we didn't have to pay our dues for the history? What if we actually could start from scratch? Could we change the world that we are living in? And at the basis of this discussion stands another amazing notion. We live now in a world where we assume scarcity. We assume that we have scarce resources that we need to allocate. We assume that the role of technology is to help us face difficulties of this scarcity. But the new theory about innovation actually assumes abundance. It's assumed that we're in a time that with technology, we can have abundance of resources. Think about energy. We do assume that energy is limited, and we need to be energy sensitive in our innovation. But what if actually we could consume all the energy, store all the energy we want, and have no limitations of energy? Same with water, same with telecommunication. So what I want to show you now, it's 2 minutes about NEOM. And let's take NEOM in our journey today, because in Kälkälist conference today, we are going to check, first of all, what is the potential of technology to change our world? We'll see a lot of presentations inspiring by AI entrepreneurs and autonomous machines entrepreneurs tell us a story about the future. And then we'll ask ourselves a little bit about current arrangements, such as Yoel said, current politics, geopolitics, current economic forces that actually constrain innovation. And we'll ask ourselves how innovation is changing, what the world's cities would have, what the roles in this innovation that entrepreneurs would have, and how probably innovation is going to organize itself in the next 10 years or so. So I want, with your permission, 2 minutes about NEOM that would accompany us for the rest of this conference.
To be one of the world's economic and scientific capitals, NEOM plans to attract the top talent from around the world and push the boundaries of innovation like never before. And they hope to do this by being the safest, most efficient, most future-oriented, and best place to live and work. As NEOM is developed and after it's established, it will focus on 9 investment sectors and living conditions. They'll focus on energy and water, mobility, biotech, food, technological and digital sciences, advanced manufacturing, media, entertainment, and livability. By investing in the latest innovation in these 9 areas, NEOM will be a technological proving ground. Also, since NEOM will be built from scratch, it will be unlike any other city on Earth, being built with future technologies at the cornerstone of its development. Every aspect will be innovative and futuristic compared to other cities that have evolved over the years. NEOM's layout will encourage walking and bicycling, and the city will be solely powered by renewable energy. On top of that, NEOM will include disruptive transportation technology such as self-driving cars, passenger drones, and Hyperloop systems. The Russian company Suma Group has announced its support for NEOM and plans to invest billions of dollars in a food hub and Hyperloop system for the megacity. NEOM will also have utopian features such as free high-speed internet, which they'll call digital air, and it'll also have free world-class continuous online education. Additionally, all of NEOM's services and processes will be 100% fully automated. If everything goes according to its vision, NEOM will be a glimpse of what's to come in the future. We will see how people will live and how they'll work when robots take most of the jobs, because in NEOM, all repetitive and arduous tasks will be fully automated and handled by robots, which may outnumber the humans in the city.
So, in our conference today, we're going to ask ourselves, are we ready? Are we ready actually for NEOM, 50 kilometers from Israel? And how come that in tech conferences we speak about technologies that we cannot actually embrace in our current arrangements in society? Are we ready actually for the cities of the future, or the future citizenship where we have more robots than humans? Do we have the social, economic, even entrepreneurship arrangement for such a society? So for us, go look for NEOM and go look for the inspiration for the society of the future we're actually starting to build. Thank you very much.